Okay. All right. I think we are live. We are live. Awesome. 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 Let me just check some settings really quick, you guys. Welcome. That looks good. That looks good. Okay. All right. I think we're good to go. Thank you guys so much for joining. Happy Wednesday. Oh, if somebody can let me know if they can hear and see everything okay. Hello. Hello, hello. How are you? Audio, video is good? Awesome. Thank you, SB. And welcome. It's good to be back. Hey, Alex. How's it going? Yay. Welcome. Courtney. Awesome. Hello. Miss Mira, Pixie Doll, April. Welcome, guys. Oh, this is going to be good. I am excited. Hey, Kim. Ah. Oh, I'm going to be ready to dive in just a second. I like to give it a good 30 seconds to a minute longer just so everybody has a chance to come in. Tracy! Yay! Hi! Hello, hello. Oh, this is fantastic. Okay. Hello, Priscilla. Hello, Fifi. Good afternoon, you guys. Or good morning, good evening, wherever you might be. It is Wednesday. It is time for another Q&A, and I am ready to dive in here in just a moment. Lucy! Hi! Oh my goodness. Some of my favorite people are here. Hello, John. Thank you. Thank you. I try. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Miss Mira. Hello, Lizard. I love lizards. I love your username. Hello, Aaron. So I'm going to be diving into the questions in just a moment. I think we're good. Confirmed settings are good on my end. Audio, videos, good. Okay. Let's just go ahead and jump in. See, I know we're in the middle of the week, in the middle of the workday here in the US, so not sure how many people we're going to get here today, but already thank you guys so much for joining. Much appreciated to all of you. Now, I'm going to do my best to answer as many questions as I can as they come in. I do have one that two that somebody asked before in advance because they couldn't be here. So I'm going to jump to those. But really quick plug before getting started. I do have a couple things going on right now. I have in the description box 50% off my courses and workshops, including the bundle, which has all of them and all of the resources and materials, meditations, subliminals, all that good stuff with them. That's going to be good through the next week or so, through the end of the month, basically. So if you want to get your hands on that, everything's down in the description. I'm also gearing up for round 2 of the group coaching program. So that starts October 31st on Halloween. There's more information down in the description box, also a link to apply if you're interested in signing up. Go ahead and check all that stuff out. But without further ado, enough of that noise. Let's jump on into some Q&A. So one of the questions that I got prior, sent in before this Q&A because they couldn't be here, is about flipping thoughts and about mental diet. So I thought it's really good to kind of dive into that for just a quick second, because there is confusion around mental diet and flipping thoughts. And, I want to be clear, if any one of you enjoys to flip your negative thoughts as they come in, if that is something that you enjoy doing and you like, by all means, keep doing that. However, if flipping every negative thought is becoming cumbersome, that's not how we want to go about doing it. That's not what mental diet means. Mental diet is essentially very keen observation of our mental activity and what we're thinking, our moods, what we're feeling throughout our day to day, in our conversations and things like that. And if you do notice that you're fixated on something that's unwanted, you want to change the focus. You want to kind of switch gears and take your focus onto something else. Now that does not mean you gotta sit there and flip every thought to a positive. A helpful way that I look at this and that I always remember this is imagine two people having an argument. And that's essentially what your mind starts doing when you start flipping thoughts. It's the conscious mind versus the subconscious mind, and that turns into a huge battle. Whereas if one of those parties walks away and doesn't even engage in the fighting, there's no fighting to be had. Like the argument is over. So we want to pivot. We want to change our focus onto something else that is not, whatever we're spiraling on or whatever we're entertaining that we don't like or that we don't want. So that's sort of the idea when it comes to flipping thoughts. And I kind of hope that that covers that. And all right, where are we now? So I got to find the second question that was sent in, but while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and answer another one. Oh, Gunapai has a good question. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Hey, Missy, I don't feel the urge to go into sats anymore. I even don't think of my desire most of the time, but I cannot say that I know that it is done. What does that mean? And how should I act? So if you're losing the urge or you're losing the desire to keep applying the techniques, if it sort of feels like it's redundant to do so, and the desire is not coming up as often, that is indication of a Sabbath period, entering the Sabbath. And I did just make a video recently talking about that Sabbath state. This is normal. It's not always that you'll have an overwhelming feeling of it's done. I've certainly had periods in the Sabbath where it didn't have that strong urge of knowing that it was done, or I didn't have that strong feeling. It was more of just I was content. I didn't have the desire or the will or need to do techniques anymore. And that's sort of your key indication. That, and you're not going to notice, the wanting coming up as much. So it sounds like you are in the Sabbath from what you're describing. Now, if you do notice creeping thoughts coming back in, if you notice looking to the 3D or kind of slipping back out of that Sabbath state, you want to put yourself back in there. You want to then kind of pick up where you left off and keep the persistence going until you are back in that Sabbath state. The aim is to sort of keep that state as much as possible. We may fall out of it, but we can always come back into it. I hope that makes sense. Good question, though. Yay! Pixie Doll asked, "Hi Missy, my question is about manifesting in SP. Should I visualize my ending should I visualize ending in a marriage, or should I visualize contact first?" I would recommend going as far to the end. So if what you desire ultimately is marriage, go to the end. Go straight to the end. Now, if it feels difficult to do so, if you have trouble sort of suspending that disbelief, and it feels like that's kind of a reach from where you are right now, of course, I've always found it helpful in those kind of situations to sort of break up in steps, manifesting in steps. Now, I know there's a lot of people that have varying views on this, but honestly, we want to find what does feel the most believable and whatever feels the most natural to us. So if it feels incredibly difficult to go all the way to the end past when you're already married, then contact will suffice. Just remember, just remember to keep yourself going, to keep yourself going. Like once the contact is established, keep it going. It's easy for us to sort of settle back into old habits and old patterns. So this is something that we want to be observing and being mindful of. Listen while we work. Yeah, there we go. What are your thoughts on instant healings? This fascinates me and I would love to have one. That's an excellent question, Tracy. What are my thoughts on instant healing? So, when it comes to instant manifestation or, very, very rapid manifestation, absolutely 100% possible to do. Literally anything is possible to do. you know, if that hasn't been established, literally anything is possible, including instant manifestation. And in fact, other people would call that, or it's commonly known as a quantum leap or a quantum jump. When you move quickly from the state you are in now to a state that is very different, very starkly different, in a way that it feels like it's instantaneous, like instantaneous healing. Um, Absolutely, it's doable. Absolutely, it's possible. That said, as humans, we are conditioned to have things sort of happen in a progressive manner. That's what feels and resonates with us the most when we think about healing or we think about anything. It's in a progression, hence why things typically show up on the bridge of incidents, because to us it feels most natural to have a progression, go a steady progression forward. That's just us being used to linear time. However, if you are able to kind of suspend that, if you're able to move past that, what ultimately to be able to make that jump, of course it's doable. Absolutely. And we can definitely talk about that more, for sure. Jessica asks, can you manifest just by affirming? And what happens while you're affirming? Does the 3D change and shift while you're affirming? So this one is very varying degrees of views when it comes to affirmations and being able to manifest solely through affirmations alone. Can you do that? You can. Absolutely. Affirmations are an incredibly powerful tool. There's a reason that they are very popular. Now, that said, the way that affirmations has always worked best for me and many of the people that I've talked to and have known is using affirmations that resonate with us, finding a way to phrase it or word it that we can really capture that feeling, that we can really capture the mood of that affirmation. Vainless repetition, that's that is one way to do it, and technically you will eventually suppress the subconscious mind, but mm, personally not my bag of tea. That's just me. um, but if you can find a way to word or phrase the affirmation so that it resonates and it helps you to capture that feeling, you're golden. You're absolutely golden. And as far as what happens, I mean, it's essentially the same thing that happens when we are doing sats or any other kind of technique. We're moving into another state, so we're changing, and thus the 3D begins to reflect those changes. So I hope that makes sense. How true is the concept everyone is you pushed out? North America has highest divorce rates and separation rates, so community and culture play a part in the concept of everyone is you pushed out. So I'm gonna. I know the answer to the first part of the question, and I think I understand the second part. But correct me if I if I've misunderstood. How true is the concept everyone is you pushed out? 100%. 100%. Everyone is. I mean, everything in our 3D is reflection. It's all feedback. Everything is projected from us. So 100%. And as far as the second question, so community and culture play a part in the concept of everyone is you pushed out. So absolutely. I mean, your environments and the culture community that you are surrounded in is 100% going to have it's going to impact us, and it's going to sort of determine what the core beliefs and assumptions it's a big part of what forms the core beliefs and assumptions that we carry. So I've talked about it a few times, how we form our beliefs and assumptions, and when we're very young, growing up through birth, about age 7, we're these sponges that are just soaking up information around us and gathering up information of the world around us to paint a picture of how everything works. And from there, we sort of become on a program, so to speak. We become very much centered around those core beliefs and assumptions. So, yeah, community and culture absolutely play a part in that concept. Now, it's also important to note that for the vast majority of people, we don't grow up knowing about the law or understanding. So there's this veil of separation that we've subscribed to, and then that can certainly play a role as well, of course. But yeah, I mean, everything that you described absolutely plays a role. But at the end of the day, 100%, 100% true. Everyone and everything is us pushed out. Oh, sorry, I lost my spot. One sec, guys. You are welcome. Am I still with my SP? I am. We are still together. We are engaged to be married. Hello, Juan. Hi. If you're finding that nothing is working in manifesting an SP and you feel burned out, can this be due to too much neediness and attachment? How to solve? So if you're finding nothing working when you're manifesting an SP and you are burned out, can it be due to too much neediness and attachment? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a number of factors that could be, ways in which we might be creating this more difficult or more challenging, unknowingly, of course. But neediness and attachment are definitely factors that are going to play a role in what manifests and the time that it takes to manifest. And if you're feeling burnout, that's indication of too much effort, putting in too much conscious effort or willpower into what you're doing. So basically, if it feels like you're trying to force it, if it feels like you're trying to, use your might to make something happen, we don't want to approach manifestation in this manner. And I know that's in stark contrast of what we've been taught to do with everything, but this is something that's very, very different. As far as how to solve, if it feels, I mean, to the degree in which you're feeling that burnout, and you're it's going to be varying, but if you are feeling like this is becoming too much of a struggle, if this is starting to affect you, like affect your mental health, affect your physical health, Take inventory. And if you need to take a break, take a break. Take a break. Give yourself a moment to just, rest, recharge your batteries, and really kind of get your speed up again. That's so important. I know there's a fear that we have that's in the back of our mind. If we take a break, then we might lose our SP, or we might, mess up our manifestation for good, but that's not possible. That's not possible. So first things first, we have to take care of us. And I cannot stress how important that is. We must prioritize ourselves first and foremost. If we're not doing well, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to manifest your desire from a state of burnout and fatigue and frustration. Take it from somebody who's been there. Take care of yourself, okay? Take care of yourself. And once you've had a minute to cool off, clear your mind, recharge your batteries, get back up and get on that bandwagon. But yeah. When manifesting and pursuing your desire, staying in the state of having it, When manifesting and pursuing your desire, staying in the state of having it, do you keep pursuing and meditating and using techniques until it shows in the 3D, or do you let it go after a certain point? So, good question. So, do we keep persisting with the techniques, or do we at a certain point sort of drop all that? And it really is going to depend, if I'm being 100% honest. Eventually, like, you'll get to a place usually where you won't have the desire or the need anymore to do the techniques. And that, as I was mentioning earlier, that's called the Sabbath state, or the state of rest, when everything is done and there's no work left to do. So you typically will get to a place where you will naturally feel the desire to drop it. You won't feel the need to keep pursuing it or to keep doing the techniques. And this is something that we don't want to force, obviously. This should come to you naturally. But there are other times where we persist in the techniques and we persist in sats, or using our imagination, however form, until it materializes. So it really depends. If you feel that urge to drop it, not the desired, dropping the need to do the techniques, go ahead and do so. If not, and especially if you notice that you might still be consistently having those negative thoughts and those negative tapes coming up and playing again, keep pursuing, keep persisting in maintaining that wish fulfilled. It's so good to see you too. So you remain in the Sabbath until it manifests in the 3D, and you do it by doing techniques, then going about your day. Yes. I might be on the bridge of incidents, but it is extremely challenging. Is there a way to ensure that the bridge or the how is pleasant? So it is true in that when the bridge is unfolding, it may not always look the most pleasant. Now, typically it is, but there are times where it may appear to be a challenge or something of the like. And it's really difficult to know until we have it in hindsight, whether, that was actually the bridge of incidents. But for that one, if you want to ensure that everything's pleasant, I would focus on something like a more general state or a more general intention. So for example, I always meditate every day in the state of gratitude, really immersing myself in the state of gratitude, which ensures that blessings are bestowed, right? Because if you're in the state of gratitude, that means that good things are happening around you. It says in the Bible, the most powerful prayer is "Thank you, Father." So I would focus on something you can utilize the lullaby method or I remember when, something along the lines that will give you a more general state of satisfaction or gratitude or anything like that. So this kind of ensures, you know, smooth sailing, so to speak, and that whatever shows up, it's going to show up for you in a very lovely manner because, again, if you're in a state of gratitude, you can't be in that state and also in a state of frustration and sadness or anger. So I hope that makes sense. I made a video talking about the lullaby method, and I remember when. If you haven't heard of them or you want to know more, check out those videos that I made. Can we still do the techniques in the Sabbath if we enjoy them / find them fun, or do we need to let them go? Absolutely. Absolutely, you can keep doing the techniques. If you find it enjoyable, if you find it feels good to do so and you are inspired to do so, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, the whole notion of letting go or detachment, that comes naturally, and sometimes it comes on strong, sometimes not so much. So if you're still wanting to do the techniques just for the fun of it, just because it feels good to do it, absolutely. 100%. What are your thoughts on doing sats and imagining the end result and affirming while still having anxiety and feeling anxious because 3D shows that what we want is not here yet? So, what are my thoughts on doing sats and affirming while we have anxiety and feeling anxious? Well, it's probably going to feel difficult to imagine the end and really feel that state of the wish fulfilled if you're feeling very anxious. So what I always do, and especially what I've done for the longest time, is if I do find myself in an irritated mood or if I'm not feeling ideal, I focus on sort of building myself back up first. So whatever that means, if that's, going and looking at cute baby animals on the internet, if that's reading a really good book, if that's going for a walk, something that I enjoy doing that I know is going to help me boost my spirits and help me to feel better, meditation. Meditation, meditation. I rarely ever, if ever, have anxiety anymore. And I used to have severe anxiety. So I've always found it most helpful to boost myself up out of that state of anxiety, state of feeling, you know, frustration or whatever that might be first. Because if you're feeling super anxious, it's going to feel difficult to, imagine going to the end. And maybe not. And if you're able to, then by all means. But if you're struggling with the techniques because of the anxiety, I would say, you know, find a few things that will help you ease the anxiety first. And then once you're feeling better, once you're, a bit more better spirits, or even just neutral, even if we're just completely neutral, like not feeling great, not feeling bad, from there, it's going to be so much easier to then go to that place in imagination and feel the state of the wish fulfilled. So I hope that helps. Hi, Missy. I have manifested financial comfort, but I'm having resistance to financial freedom. Debt, mostly. How would you suggest working on that? Well, first off, congrats on manifesting the financial comfort. That's step one, right? which is a really, really good feeling, naturally. But when it comes to financial freedom, so that's kind of taking it up a notch, so to speak. So, what I do, or what I always recommend doing when it comes to, if you want to take it further, is really get a picture in your mind of what that looks like. Financial freedom to you. What would you be doing? Would you be traveling? Would you be, you know, a philanthropist? Would you start a charity, a nonprofit? Would you, others? What would your a day in the perfect life look like for you? And get as descriptive as possible. And then really begin to let yourself play with those ideas and focus on more of the feeling of it. One of the things that I've noticed kind of slows us down a little bit is that we get really fixated on the money aspect of manifesting abundance. It's not even so much the money itself that is what we're after. We're after the feeling of freedom. We're after the feeling of security and stability. We're looking for that satisfaction and that peace of mind. That's the ultimate aim. So if we can really suspend ourselves into that feeling and really get as clear of a picture of what that financial freedom looks like and what that would feel like for you, that's what I would do to sort of like take it a little further. Can I manifest more than one thing or just focus on one thing, such as getting ideal body and a job, etc.? You can absolutely manifest multiple things. Absolutely. I mean, we're already naturally doing that. So, hello, hello. Oh, thank you, Rainey. Sorry, I'm trying to find the spot where I left off, guys. I'm sorry. What does it exactly mean by living moment to moment? Is it that our actions now are not actually determining the successive reality we'll be experiencing? Not quite. So, living moment to moment is really about keeping yourself present, keeping yourself not, you know, stuck in the past or, you know, anxiety about something in the future. Because when we typically do that, we typically spend most of our time in either the past or the future, and it's usually on things that are not great. So we want to practice getting out of the habit of doing that by just taking everything from moment to moment and just being here right now. And is it our actions now that are not actually determining? So no, it our actions now are actually determining the success of reality. So yeah, what the footprint, so to speak, that you're leaving right now is what determines what's going to happen to you going forward. Essentially, we don't want to get caught up of something that happened, 5 minutes ago, 5 months ago, 5 years ago. None of that matters. Now, whatever happened even just a second ago does not matter, truly, because we have a very we have this tendency to take everything that has happened to us from the past and use it to sort of predict what's going to happen in the future. And we want to avoid that, unless it's ideal. But what you're doing in this moment, is absolutely determining factor of what is going to play out, unless you revise it. Hey, Missy, I had a huge issue about connections with people. Now I've worked on it. I feel very content, but my 3D is almost going in waves. It doesn't feel hot and cold, but more like a test. Your thoughts. So, as far as if it's feeling like it's testing you, well, I mean, rest assured, that the universe is not testing you, not in the way that you might think or what it might feel. Um, it doesn't feel hot and cold. I mean, if you would want to give me a little bit of a description there as to what you mean, more like a test. So, if you're noticing the 3D coming in waves, if you're noticing sometimes up, sometimes down, if it's feeling like it's fluctuating, that's literally replication. Everything in the 3D is replication of what we are internalizing. So, what we're doing. So, we want to make sure that we're being very, very aware and very observant of what we're doing and what we're dwelling on in our day to day, because a lot of the times we'll have things slide completely under the radar because we're not naturally observant. We spend most of the time in autopilot, and it's very easy to let things sort of go unchecked and unnoticed. Hence why if something manifests and it sort of surprises us, if it kind of takes us aback, well, it's because we were on autopilot. We were not aware of those seeds when they were planted. So, first thing to kind of start, if you're noticing the 3D acting all weird and wonky, first thing you're going to want to do is start, really keeping a sharp observation, really keeping a sharp mental diet, and seeing what you are truly dwelling in. Because we may think that we're doing okay, but upon closer observation, there's, subtle, almost whispers that go almost completely unnoticed if we're not paying attention. Thank you. Y'all are sweet. I'm working with people that talk about sickness and death. What can I do to avoid feeling down? Thanks. Uh, so that's actually a really awesome question, because I think for many people, we might be in a situation where, these are things that we need to encounter in the 3D, or that we do encounter in the 3D, that are not ideal or not desirable. And so what should we do in that case? I mean, first things first, if there's any way that you can, voice and say, hey, you know, can we talk about something else? Can we talk about, this topic's bumming me out. If you are able to do that, absolutely, you have every right to do that. You don't have to subject yourself to something that you don't want if you don't have to. Now, if it's the case that you can't avoid these conversations, say if it's, clients or coworkers, if it is part of your job or something of the sort, you know, one thing that we can always remember to do is just at the end of the day, or even on the spot, is sort of revise the conversation, revise what we've heard, if that makes sense. Revision isn't just doing things from the long-term past. We can always revise what happened through our day, and we can always revise what happened even in that moment, like in that conversation, and imagine something lovely, a topic that was lovely instead. And keeping the focus on that, you'll notice the 3D change to that. And it does take some practice. We're still all very, very, very conditioned to the 3D. But practice sort of separating yourself, practice detaching yourself from whatever may be going on around you. If you can't just say, hey, I'd rather not talk about this, utilize either revision or any other kind of detachment methods to sort of help you not react or not have it really start to bring you down. Oh, thank you, Monica. I'm glad you exist too. Thank you. I'm up to a point where my wish feels natural and what I imagined real. However, I'm often confronted with feelings of lack. I then go back to visualize into the state. Am I on the right track? Yes, it sounds like it. So I'm up to a point where my wish feels natural and what I imagine real. I often get confronted with feelings of lack, but then I go back and visualize into the state. Yes, that's bang on. Bang on. You want it to get to a point where it feels natural and what you imagine feels real to you. There may be moments where you fall out of the Sabbath state. That is effectively that again, that's the Sabbath. That's that wish fulfilled. When you've reached that state, the goal is then to maintain it. The goal is then, if you fall out of it, to get back into it. So absolutely, from what you've described, you are on the right track, and I am so excited for updates. Let me know how that goes. Now, I just got 2 questions back to back about parallel realities. If we create a new future for us, do we disappear in the current timeline? Is this where all the missing people went? This fear has been bothering me, lol. If we create a new future for us, do we disappear in the current timeline? No, it doesn't disappear. States don't disappear. States are eternal. The states will exist in perpetuity forever. So no, it's not that we will vanish from here, like in this like body form. No. Is that where all the missing people? What missing people? I love that question. That's a really creative question. I love that. Can you explain more about the fact that the best version of RSP already exists in another reality? Yeah, absolutely. So, and I've talked about this in a couple videos, specifically regarding states. One of the first videos that I made talking about states of consciousness, where effectively, when you hear the word states, think of realities, think of different timelines, or different, not even different timelines, but just different realities that come with its own set of circumstances and events and thoughts and mood and feelings and all of that. So when it comes to the best version of your SP, so there is an infinite number of these states. Since all of creation is finished, there's literally infinite states and infinite versions of every person. So if there is infinite versions of every person, that means that there is a version of your SP that already right now wants to be with you and is madly in love with you. And that's what we're sort of tapping into, so to speak. That's what we want to ultimately move ourselves into, is that state where SP is already that version of him that we want to be. And I know it really sounds, our mind has a very difficult time thinking quantum, thinking on a quantum level. We're very linear, and we're very like single approached, and this illusion of separation is very immersed in us. So it is a trip to kind of wrap your mind around. I certainly had difficulties, but I mean, we're even seeing in a lot of science, in the quantum physics department, especially the quantum mechanics, quantum physics, we're already seeing this to be true, or something that is very, very, very likely. So yeah, the best version of your SP already exists, because all states or all realities are already real. I'm persisting in a new home. I'm feeling just the knowing isn't enough, and I feel I must manifest the state of joyously knowing it's done. Is this a concept you're familiar with? Joyously knowing versus knowing. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the feeling is that knowing isn't enough. You must take it up a notch and add the emotion behind it. Um, it's not a concept. that I hear about. I've heard about it. It's not one that I'm super familiar with, but we don't have to try to consciously force the emotional part of it. In fact, a lot of times it may feel difficult to force the feeling of overjoyed. Um, the feeling of knowing, or just the knowing enough, is actually enough to manifest. FYI, it's more than enough. 100%. We don't have to feel this exhilarated, over the moon sort of feeling. I mean, we could, and sometimes in imagination, you might notice that start to come up for you naturally, but it's not a requirement. Really, it is just the knowing that this is done and you're good. Because if you think about it, if you're living in the end after you've already had the house, we're not going to stay in a state of like joyous knowing. It's just going to feel normal to us. It's just going to be a knowing that we have. So I hope that makes sense. Good questions today, you guys. Lost my spot. Hang on, coming back. You are so welcome. Totally lost my spot, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get caught back where I was. Thinking about subjecting my mom to my disappearance was getting in the way. I mean, it's a valid point. It's a valid, fear, I guess. No, no, that you don't have to worry about that. You're fine. So being in a certain state is what manifests, not affirming slash scripting slash visualizing. Yes. 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 Depending, everything that comes into your encounter in the 3D, everything that you encounter, everything that plays out, the circumstances, the people, the thoughts, the feelings, all of that, it stems from the state. It all comes from the state of consciousness. That's what quote unquote manifests, not the actual techniques themselves. The techniques are just a means to help you move into and maintain that new state of consciousness. So yeah, everything manifests from the state. And that's going to be determined by, obviously, at least the dominant state we occupy is determined by the concept of self that we have. So it's not the techniques that are going to be the thing that do it. Oh, thank you. If I keep daily notes about symptoms and unlovely things I experience so I can look back and see progress or patterns, am I unintentionally keeping these states alive? Ooh. So, mm, if if you are noticing by keeping the focus on that, it makes you feel anxious or anything. Long story short, we probably don't want to go about doing it that way. One helpful technique for you may be I remember when. So noting anything that you're feeling now and going into I remember when. I remember when I used to feel very anxious. I remember when I used to, struggle to do day-to-day activities. But then, and you can feel free to add, but now I am healthy. Now I do, I live a life of freedom. Now I live a life that I love. I feel overjoyed. I feel confident. That may be a better approach. Or if you can think of those symptoms and unlovely things as no longer in your experience. These are things that are no longer in existence for you. But yeah, if we keep the unwanted things at front and center, that's probably, we don't want that. Oh, Kim, I must have completely missed your. I'm sorry. Let me go up. Oh, I just got your message. Okay. Wait, it disappeared again. Sorry, the chat moves and then I get lost. I'm so sorry, guys. Where was it? Where was it? I've been on my SP manifest journey for 2 years. My SP is in the States. I am not. We parted 20 plus years ago. No contact in 10 plus years. Last week I received notification that he's following Instagram. That's amazing. Where's the other part of the question? Do I follow back? Is this taking action? Your advice is appreciated. Thank you. Absolutely follow him back. That's amazing. Congrats. Congrats on the movement. That's a big deal. 10 years of no contact. Wow. Absolutely. So that's you're sort of following, right? The action that took place was that he initiated and reached out to you. So you're just following back. Yeah, I would do it. By taking action, it just means, we don't want to put force through the 3D world, through the 3D reality. We don't want to try to forge a path to our SP or whatever the manifestation is through that's not going to be the way to do it. But if they reach out to you, if they initiate contact with you, you can absolutely follow up with them 100%. I'm excited for you. Congrats. What if you don't know? Oh, this is a really good question. What if you don't know if it will happen or not? Is imagining and just living in the end enough to manifest, even if you don't necessarily believe it will happen? Or is that just a waste of time? So, short answer is yes, absolutely. Imagining and living in the end is enough. Initially, we probably won't believe it. We probably won't know for certain whether or not it's going to happen. And that's normal. That's totally normal. What you're going to find is through this practice and through the repetition of moving yourself into that wish fulfilled state, moving into the end in imagination, that's what sort of helps you to, you're going to feel it more and more natural. It's going to feel more realistic to you doing it that way. But initially starting, no, it might not always be that we are certain that it's going to happen. Not at all. And I mean, a good thing to remember, as everyone here sort of follows the teachings of Neville Goddard, or at least follows Neville Goddard. The first time he manifested anything was a trip to Barbados back in 1933. And at the time, he had a lot of doubt. He was very skeptical, very doubtful, very nervous, very anxious. Because, as the days ticked by and he got closer and closer to the day, he was trying to make it home for the first time in like 10 years to be there for Christmas. And back then, he, as the days got closer, he got more and more anxious and was going up to Abdullah constantly, like, hey, no sign of anything yet. Should I panic? Should I worry? What do I do? So needless to say, even Neville was scared and didn't know that anything was going to happen first. And so all of us will have a little bit of that to some degree. Not everybody, but a lot of people initially won't feel the most believable thing in the world. And that's okay. No, you are awesome, Tracy. You're awesome. You're awesome. We're the ones moving into that reality. We're the ones moving, yes. Yeah. SB. If you're truly living in the end in imagination, though, wouldn't you have that knowing that your desire would happen in the 3D? Please elaborate. Yes. So, like I said, initially, like when we're just getting started with it, or if perhaps, finding it difficult to maintain that state, we may have doubts or have moments where we're not sure. I've in the past certainly manifested things where I was not 100% certain that it was going to happen. I've certainly had moments like that. Now, if you are truly living in the end in imagination, you will get to a point, absolutely, where you will have that knowing. That will happen. And that's what maybe I was not wording it in the best way, but that's what I was trying to elaborate earlier. Initially, it might not be, you might not have full confidence and belief at first, but if you keep persisting in that imaginal act, you will get to a place of knowing. That will happen. Yes. I hope that makes sense. The way Neville described it was it's akin to putting on a new suit or a new outfit that you haven't worn before. And at the first time, it's sort of uncomfortable. It doesn't feel very, it feels kind of off, like, or we're breaking in a new pair of shoes. Initially, it may not be that we're the most comfortable and it feels the most natural to us, but the more that we wear it and the longer that we break it in, it's going to feel effortless. It's going to feel like the most natural thing in the world. So that's why we're told to persist. And yeah, if we're truly living in the end in imagination, you will get to a point where, yeah, it will be a knowing. Once that seed is impressed, it is a knowing, 100%. You're welcome. Yay! Sounds like I need to keep persisting. Yeah, 70 times 7 until the eye is fixed as though nailed with a sword. Oh, thank you, CH. How do we let go of old beliefs that hold us back? Well, we have to condition new ones. And we do that through imagination. Any change that we desire to see comes through imagination, no matter what. So by living in the end, by imagining that place, that desired outcome, that desired state, and really moving into that in imagination, experiencing it as if it were something that was happening to you in the 3D, you take the form of that. So whatever needs to change in order to make way to that state will have to change. I did also make a couple videos talking about limiting beliefs and how to go about releasing them or removing them, reconditioning them. So be sure to check those out. If you go on my page and just type in the search bar limiting belief, you should have a couple of videos pop up if you are curious. Yeah. All right. Oh, dang. I got time for maybe one or two questions tops, and then I got to jet, guys. Do I have a video on past revisions? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think I have a couple videos talking about revision. Yes. Yeah. If you go search on my channel page, just type in revision, you should see some pop up for you. You are all so sweet. Oh, you guys are the best. If everyone is you pushed out, are other people's manifestations a result of their subconscious mind, or did I create that because it's in my reality as an observer? So, in our reality, that's a really good question. So, are other people's manifestations a result of their subconscious or us because it's in my reality? The second part. So, everything that you are experiencing in your reality is stemming from you. Like everything is an outpicturing of the things that we're internalizing. All of it. All of it, all of it, all of it. You are the operant power. You are the God in your reality. You are player number one. We can always change how people and how circumstance can show up for us. It has to be done internally. Okay. You're so welcome. Do you have any examples of using all five senses to manifest an SP/date at a particular place? I know of three, but not all five, and no one talks about this. Yeah, an example of a scene that utilizes all five senses to manifest an SP/date at a particular place. Absolutely. Imagine you are at a restaurant with your SP and you are enjoying a glass of wine. And imagine you're taking a sip of the wine, you can taste it, you can smell the wine, you can hear soft music and soft chatter in the background of other patrons. Maybe the other hand is holding SPs, you can feel the touch of his hand. Is that all of them? Taste, touch, smell, sight. Oh, well, sight, obviously. But yeah, does that, I hope that was your question. So being able to utilize all the senses, that's one example. Another could be, the two of you are walking on the beach, you're having an ice cream cone and holding SP's hand. You hear the ocean, you can hear the seagulls, you can hear the sounds of, all the ambient noise, you can smell the salt water, you can, really almost taste it. But no, enjoy the ice cream cone, you can taste the ice cream cone, you can feel SP's hand in yours, and you can see the beautiful scene around you. So yeah, there's two right there. But yeah, there's different ways, and this is the beauty of it, guys. We get to get creative. We get to get totally creative. Like we can go anywhere and do literally anything. If you want to go to orbit with SP and hang around in the space station, like do it. There are no limitations. To the degree that you can convince yourself. But point being, we can utilize all of the senses in any way that we see fit, anything that we want to do. The world is yours, totally and completely. I always thought that would be cool. Like hanging out in zero gravity would just be rad. That's just me. Okay, guys, I do have to jet. I apologize if I was not able to get to your question today. I come back and do this often. I aim for every week, but I never go too long without a live session. So if not today, come back again. Thank you all so much again for joining me. Awesome questions today, you guys. So much love to all of you. Take care. Mwah. Happy manifesting, guys.